it's easy to trust God when everything's going well. About 5 years ago, I'd been in Africa on tour with the guys from Hillsong United, and everything was amazing. Life was incredible, and at the time, I was living in Australia. I'd grown up in Australia, had lived by the beach, very comfortable life, all the friends in the world, and everything was amazing. And at the end of this trip, I felt like I wanted to spend some time just kind of relaxing, so I flew to New York City. It's this other city on the other side of the country, and I just was hanging out, just enjoying all that the city has to offer. And it came to the last day, and out of nowhere, basically I felt like the Spirit of God spoke to me and said that God wanted me to be a part of helping start a church in that incredible city. And I remember walking through the streets and looking at every single person, no matter where they were at, from the guy on Wall Street to the guy getting drunk on the stoop, and just imagine that they could have a home, that there could be a church where they felt at home. I remember going back to Australia and knowing that God had spoken to me. It was a really easy decision to make. And I remember speaking to Carl, who was just up here, and we talked about it. God spoke to him as well, and a couple of years later we were packing up house and home and moving to New York City. And, it was a huge step of faith, but it was easy because I knew God was in it. And fast forward a couple of years, and I'm living in New York City, very single, very lonely, feeling a long way from home. And to be honest, on the outside I was holding everything together. Life was getting busier and busier. I was trying to do everything, but on the inside I was breaking, I was falling apart. And I remember getting to a place where my heart was running. I knew my heart was running, and it wasn't running from God, but it was running from the call of God on my life. I started to doubt that God could use me, that God wanted to use me. And it was a crazy season. It was a really dark time, and I remember coming to a fork in the road, a crossroads, and I had to make a decision. I remember God speaking to me, and He said, "Do you trust me?" Just very simply, "Do you trust me?" And to be honest, at the time, I didn't know that I could, because I felt like God was a million miles away. I'd seen God do so many great things, amazing things through my life, but in this moment, it just felt like God was nowhere to be found. I had to make a decision. I was reminded, I looked back at just the story of my life, and time again, season after season, where, through the valleys, through the moments, looking back, seeing how God had come through, and He's always working things together. And it's easy. God makes a whole lot more sense in hindsight sometimes than it does looking forward. But I chose to lean in, I chose to step in, I chose to just trust Him. And it's crazy because 3 years later I'm standing here, and I'm married to the most incredible, beautiful, amazing woman in the world. I have a son who's here tonight. He's 8 weeks old. He's the most beautiful little boy. I get to serve God in the most incredible church, in the most amazing city, with my best friends. And I'm more passionate about the cause of Christ and the church than I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm here to say, sometimes it doesn't make sense. But when you look back and you see how God's sovereign hand is always moving, He's always moving the pieces, He's always taking us, calling us further, calling us deeper, because He's got so much more for us. And I'm here to testify that He's never failed. He's not going to start now, not with me, not with you, not with anybody. And that's why I've decided to follow Jesus.